Imagine you are this whale, or any whale for that matter. You spend your days swimming, playing, or socializing. Now, although you may not know it, you're giving a service to humans. Yes, the same humans who are polluting your homes, the same ones who are hunting you down, and the same ones who are overfishing your food. Now, although many of you may not know this, not only are whales an essential part of the marine ecosystem, but of our daily lives. They are the most important fertilizers for our most essential carbon sequestration source, phytoplankton. Now, before I get on to what phytoplankton does, it's important to know what carbon sequestration is. Carbon sequestration, or carbon sequestrators, are systems or organisms that essentially capture and store CO2. So, in their biomass. Examples of organisms that do this are photosynthesizing organisms like trees, plants, and, well, phytoplankton. Now, how does this fertilization from whales to the phytoplankton actually work? Well, it can be understood in 3 simple steps: whale feeding, releasing nutrients, and fertilizing phytoplankton. Now, the whale, depending on its size and species, will either hunt or filter feed, consuming essential nutrients. Then, through their release of nutrients, they will release nitrogen and iron-rich waste near the surface of the ocean. Yes, I'm talking about poo, which will then, number 3, fertilize the phytoplankton. So, okay, it's great for me to tell you all this and explain that whales are excellent fertilizers for phytoplankton, and that phytoplankton captures CO2 and release oxygen. But so what? As I mentioned before, trees and plants do the exact same thing. So if we don't take care of whales or take care of phytoplankton, it should be fine, right? Actually, it's more complicated than that. And the answer to that question is no. You see, phytoplankton absorbs about 4 times as much carbon as the whole Amazon rainforest. Really let that sink in. 4 times such a microscopic organism compared to our biggest forest and what we think is our biggest oxygen and carbon sequestration source. And guess what? Us humans, we have no systems in place to capture carbon. We rely 100% on carbon sequestrators, and that means trees, plants, and phytoplankton. So yes, it's essential for us to take care of our forests and plant trees. But I think it's also essential to look at what's having an even bigger impact. And the fact is that phytoplankton is really where it's at. Phytoplankton absorbs about 40% of all of our CO2 production and produces up to 50% of the oxygen we breathe every day. Please, I'm just gonna give you a moment to look at those numbers again, because that's just crazy. Now, additionally, biologists predict that if we increased our phytoplankton by 1% globally, it would equate to planting 2 billion mature trees. 2 billion. Not 1, not 1.5, 2 billion mature trees. That is also just crazy to me. Now, before I move on, I think it's also essential to note that not only are whales excellent carbon sequestrators through their fertilization of phytoplankton, but also through the carbon sequestration that their body partakes in themselves. According to WWF, it's predicted that a whale sequesters about 33 metric tons of CO2 during its lifetime. A tree, on the other hand, sequesters only 22 kilograms of CO2 per year, which equates to about 0.22 metric tons of CO2 per year. Now, humor me while I try and calculate this, because I'm not very good at math, but I'll try. Now, a tree's average lifespan. Obviously, it depends on the type of tree and the environment that this tree lives in. But let's assume we're talking about a mid-lived tree that lives from 100 to 150 years. So we'll stick to the 125 mark. Now, the 0.22 metric tons of CO2 that it's capturing a year times the 125 years that we're assuming it lives would give us 2.75 metric tons of CO2 that tree is capturing during its lifetime. Now, if we go back to our whale captured 33 metric tons of CO2 during its lifetime versus 2.75 metric tons from our tree. Do we not realize that protecting our whales is only pros? Imagine the impact if we began taking care of our whales, allowing them to fertilize our phytoplankton and capture the carbon that their body captures themselves. Now, sadly, we have essentially destroyed a species that provide so much for us, and biologists estimate that the whale population worldwide has been cut down to less than 1/4 of what it once was. And on top of that, some specific species, like blue whales, have been reduced to less than 3% of their original abundance. That's a 97% loss. 97% loss of whales that help us, and we lost them. And whales are not the only animals we're doing this with. In fact, we're doing it with many other animals and harming our Earth constantly through things like bycatch, for example, and the fishing industry. Now, let's take the fishing industry. You would think that an industry that millions of us rely on, an industry that we need every single day to eat, would be taken care of sustainably. You would think that humans, being as smart and technologically developed as we are, would fish in a way that ensures we have food for tomorrow, right? Well, that's actually not how we see it at all. Instead, we overfish, depleting our fish stocks at rates impossible to restore, and don't even take care of our oceans. It's actually one of the hardest challenges that humanity is facing, because we keep on harming our Earth, and we're not realizing that we're harming it. So one of the biggest, I think, most important things to think about when we're harming oceans, and mostly when we're talking about fishing industry, is bycatch. Now, an estimated 30,000 whales and dolphins and 50 million sharks are killed every year due to bycatch. Really let that sink in. 30,000 whales and dolphins and 50 million sharks caught, killed, and wasted because of our reckless practices. Can't we see what we're doing? Don't we realize that actually we are the problem? We're not valuing the ocean as we should, and that is such an important thing to think about too. The value of the ocean and the value that we give the ocean. You see, I think to fully understand the ocean, we need to not only look at its instrumental value, meaning what it provides for us, but also its intrinsic value. Its value simply for being there. Not because it performs a function or gives us a service, but simply because if it's there, then it should be valued. Now, if the world was different, it would have been enough for me to come up here today and tell you that we should protect whales, phytoplankton, oceans, sharks, and dolphins simply because they're there. And if they're there, then they should be valued. However, sadly, the world has proven time and time again that something's intrinsic value is simply not enough to make us want to protect it. So instead, I told you only a few of the thousands of things that the ocean does for you every single day. So now it's your turn, and I have a question for you. How are you going to pay it back? Now, before I just throw that question at you, of course, I'm going to give you some solutions. I will give you 4 pieces of advice, 4 things that I hope you will not just listen to and forget about, but 4 things that I hope you will implement, because I'm not asking for much. Just 4 choices saying, today I choose to fight for a better tomorrow. So without further ado, here we have the 4 reduces. Number 1, shop sustainably. Now, I propose limiting our consumption of over-fertilized and overproduced goods, and mostly fast food. Not only is it terribly unhealthy for us, but terribly unhealthy for our oceans, for our Earth, and for our biosphere in general. Instead, opt for locally grown produce or natural fertilizers. Things to look out for when shopping are stickers like these, and these. Also, check where your food is coming from. If a mango has to travel halfway across the world just for you to eat it, maybe that mango should stay home and work on its travel blog instead. Number 2, reduce plastic consumption. Now, although I haven't touched on plastics today, because that's a whole other topic in itself, let's be honest. Each and every single one of you knows the terrible impacts that plastic have on our Earth, on our oceans, and on ourselves. Yet we keep on using them every single day. So try to reduce your consumption of plastic and only use it when there are no other alternatives. Number 3, use energy-efficient appliances. This is a solution that many of us wouldn't think of. I didn't until I started making this presentation. Don't get me wrong, I'm not telling you to go and throw out all of your devices, because that would be a waste as well. But if your washing machine breaks down, or your dishwasher doesn't work anymore, instead of opting for the next cheapest one, or the one that will clean it faster, look for stickers like these, and these that indicate A pluses, I'll let you have a B, of energy efficiency. Please don't confuse them for stickers like these or these. That's not what we're looking for. That's the opposite impact. Now, number 4, reduce fish consumption. I'm gonna say that again. Reduce fish consumption. As a society, we've been tricked into thinking that fish are the most sustainable and healthy protein source, and that's simply not true. You see, the fishing industry harms our earth in ways we can't even understand through things like overfishing, bycatch, and pollution. So if you're gonna take anything away from my talk, and I hope you do, let it be this point. Reduce your fish consumption, and if you are going to eat fish, try and make sure that it's coming from somewhere sustainable. Now, I would like to go back to the whale we saw at the beginning. Imagine for me that you are that whale. You know what? Let's all imagine that we are that whale. Swimming happily, freely, suffering from humans, still helping them, and losing more and more of our populations due to them. Now, let's go 50 years down the line. You are still that whale. How are you? Or the better question, how do you want that whale to be? How do you want to pay it back for everything that it does and has done for you? And that goes for the whole ocean. How are you going to thank it? Think about that to shape your actions and choices of tomorrow. How are you going to empower change to restore and protect ocean life? How are you going to fight for a blue future? Thank you.